So factoring a trinomial. What's a trinomial? Yes? Yeah, it's an expression with three terms. Now this method, because you're going to learn another method, this method is when a equals 1. Okay? If a does not equal 1, you cannot use the sum and product method. You're going to learn what to do. Okay, so if you watch the video, you should know how to answer this. You're looking for two things that multiply together that are going to get you back to this. So what times what is x squared? Yeah, x times x is x squared. And then what do we have to do to get the other terms? We're looking for two things that what? Multiply together to give us 12, but add up to 7. So they multiply to give us c and add up to b. Right? Okay, so so what if I did -4 and -3? Is -4 times -3 positive 12? Yes, but what happens when I add -4 and -3? I get a -7, so that doesn't work because it needs to be positive. So if you try +4 and +3, that works. That's it. So what's the last term in the trinomial? What was the last term? 12. So you can put that next to the last term in the trinomial was positive 12. And the coefficient of the middle term, positive 7. They're just, yeah. So to get c, you have to multiply your last terms in the binomial. So in this case it was, so we're just going to write multiply. To get c, you multiply the numbers. And to get b, what do you do with those two numbers? You add. So this is just showing you why it works. To get the last term, you're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give you the last term and add together to give you the middle term. That's all I was doing in this chart. It's just breaking it down. Right away, you know that in factored form, it's going to be x times x, right? And we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give us positive 12. And when you add those two numbers up, you get -8. So two things that multiply to give you a positive, but when you add them, the answer is negative. What do your signs have to be? Negative. Okay, so first, if you want, figure out the signs. If you're multiplying them together to get a positive, you know that it can either be a negative and a negative, give you a positive, or it can be a positive and a negative. A positive and a positive. But in this case, two positives added together are not going to give us a negative. So we know it has to be two negatives, right? Okay, so what are the two factors? What times what is 12? That adds up to -8. Ridge? -6, -2. That's it. So factor form is x take away 6, x take away 2. If I were to tell you to sketch this, factor form would be y equals x minus 6, x minus 2. So what are the two x-intercepts? Shavita already told us. Positive 6 and positive 2. What's the y-intercept? Look at the equation in standard form. What's the y-intercept in standard form? It's the c. Remember? C is the y-intercept. So what is it?
12.
Okay, so if I were to sketch this, I would do this. It intercepts at positive 12. It intercepts at positive 2. And it intercepts at positive 6. This is my parabola. That's all you're doing. That's your sketch. Okay? Okay, so for this example, this is not a trinomial where a is equal to 1. So I can't use the product sum method. So you want to see if there is a greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor for all these terms?
Yes.
What is it? So if I divide all of these by 3, we're left with 3. And then what's left in the bracket? X squared plus 1, or I'm going to write 1 just so you see 1x. That's it. Okay, so I've factored it, but I haven't fully factored it. Now this is a trinomial where a is equal to 1. Can you factor that? Can you look for two things that multiply together to give me -6 and add up to positive 1? So we're going to keep this 3 in front, and we're going to factor this. So you're looking for two things that multiply together to give me a negative. So can you have a positive and a positive here? No. So you automatically know, again, look at the signs. You know it has to be a positive and a negative. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. It doesn't matter what order you write it in. What are factors of -6? What times what can give you -6? -3 and +2?
Yes.
What's -3 plus 2? -1. So that didn't work. It has to be +1. Yes, the other way around. So +3 and -2. What's 3 plus -2? +1. So it's going to be +3, -2. That's the final answer. This is fully factored. You're looking for two things that multiply together to get us back to that. So we know the first two terms are going to be what? What's the square root of x squared?
5.
Okay. Now you're looking for two terms that multiply together to give you -5y squared. What times what is y squared? We know that the last term has to have a y with it. So what times what is -15, but adds up to, so it multiplies to -15 and adds up to -2. 5 and 3 is 15, but it has to be negative. So let's say I make this positive and this one negative. What's 5 plus -3? +2. That didn't work, so what should I do, Rich? Yep. That gives me -2, so we're going to put -5y because there's a y squared and +3y. That's the answer.